Welcome back, friends. Today, we're making something that's been buzzing around the city, the Fish Döner. It's not just a dish. It's a story of how street food meets the sea. I still remember the first time I tasted it. Crispy edges, smoky aroma, and that subtle tang of spice that instantly pulled me in. If you love discovering the stories behind food as much as I do, don't forget to subscribe. There's a whole world of flavors waiting, and I promise each dish comes with a story worth hearing. I want to make something that feels alive, not just another kitchen tool, but a piece that carries soul. When you work with wood, you start to understand patience. Every cut, every grain, every tiny imperfection tells you how the tree once lived. By the way, if you haven't checked it out yet, take a look at my store. There's some brand new merch I just released, inspired by the food stories we share here. The idea of wooden stands for meat actually goes back centuries, to the Ottoman Empire. Street vendors would carve these from oak or walnut, then serve freshly grilled donars straight off them. It wasn't just for presentation. The wood absorbed the juices, creating this earthy, smoky depth that metal could never replicate. I love thinking about that. People gathering in old markets, smoke rising, the scent of spice and fire everywhere, and a simple wooden board being part of the ritual. Cooking wasn't just about eating, it was about respect for the ingredients, for the craft, for the people who'd come to taste it. So now, we move to the fish, a twist on a classic. Most people think of doner and picture meat, lamb, beef, chicken, but fish? That's where the story gets interesting. The first time I tried a fish doner, it wasn't even planned. It was in a small coastal town in Turkey. The fishermen grilled their catch right there on the dock, slicing it thin and layering it like shawarma. It smelled like the sea, smoky, sharp, unforgettable. Historically, fish donors were born out of adaptation. When coastal towns couldn't afford meat, or when it spoiled too fast, they turned to what they had most: fish. Cheap, fresh, and full of protein. Necessity created invention. Some believe the first versions came from the Black Sea region, where people marinated fish in vinegar and spices before grilling it vertically. The same way traditional donor meat spun on a spit. It was efficient, flavorful, and practical. What I love about it is the irony. Meat donor was a symbol of abundance, luxury even. But fish donor started as a humble solution for survival. Now it's become a gourmet trend in modern street food. Cooking fish this way is tricky. It's softer, more delicate. It doesn't forgive overcooking. You need balance, the right marinade, just enough flame, and timing that feels almost instinctive. That's what separates a good cook from a lucky one. In Istanbul today, some chefs still serve fish donors near the Bosphorus, blending history and innovation. Locals line up not for nostalgia, but for that fusion of smoke, salt, and sea that feels like home and adventure at once. Compared to meat donors, fish versions are lighter, sharper in taste, and more layered in aroma. They don't fill you up in the same heavy way. They leave you curious, wanting another bite, another story. The fascinating part? Fish donors nearly disappeared in the mid-20th century. Industrialization made meat cheaper, and people forgot the recipes. Only coastal families kept the tradition alive, quietly, at home. Some old Turkish cookbooks still have handwritten notes about Balık Döner, fish cooked on vertical skewers, usually mackerel or sardines. The handwriting alone tells you it was someone's treasure, not just a recipe. To me, that's the beauty of cooking. Dishes evolve, disappear, and return in new forms, like stories retold by new voices. I guess that's what I'm doing here too, bringing back an almost forgotten chapter of street food. Now it's time to thread the fish onto this metal spit. It's a delicate moment. You have to keep the fillets intact or the whole thing falls apart. I learned this the hard way the first time I tried. A little trick I picked up from a street cook in Izmir is to slightly freeze the fish before threading it. It firms up the flesh and makes it much easier to slide onto the skewer without tearing. And here's the thing. The way you layer the fish affects cooking. Thicker parts go on the outside to catch the heat evenly, while thinner fillets nestle inside. It's both practical and a bit of artistry in one. Now that the fish is threaded, it's ready to meet the heat. There's something mesmerizing about watching it spin slowly, juices sizzling and smoke curling. It's the moment all the prep leads to. If you're enjoying this journey into flavors and stories, don't forget to subscribe. There's so much more history and hidden secrets behind every dish, and I want to share them with you. Cooking fish on a spit isn't just about food, it's about patience, observation, and timing. I love pausing here, smelling the aroma, remembering all the streets and markets that taught me these tricks. I'd love to know, have you ever tried a fish doner? Or would you stick to the classic meat version? Drop a comment. Let's see which one our community loves more. While the fish cooks, I'll start preparing the lavish, that thin, soft flatbread that holds everything together. It might look simple, but it's one of the oldest breads in human history, with roots that go thousands of years back. Lavash first appeared in Armenia and spread across the Middle East, Persia, and Anatolia. It was the bread of travelers and nomads, light to carry, quick to bake, and easy to share. You could roll it, dry it, or wrap it around anything. Back in the day, women baked lavash on the walls of a clay oven called a tonir. They'd press the dough against the hot surface, and in seconds it puffed up and browned beautifully. No pans, no machines, just fire, flour, and instinct. When doner kebab was born in the Ottoman Empire, lavash became the perfect match. It could handle the juicy meat, or fish, without breaking, and you could eat it with your hands right on the street. Portable, practical, delicious. What fascinates me most is how lavash was born out of necessity, minimal ingredients, maximum endurance. Yet somehow, it's become a universal comfort food. Proof that simplicity can travel farther than luxury ever could. Time to sit down and have some tea. It's funny, no matter where I go, tea always feels like a pause button for life. The world can rush around you, but the moment you hold that warm cup, everything slows down. I still remember the first time I drank tea in a Turkish market. Tiny glass, too hot to hold, steam curling into the morning air. A vendor I barely knew handed it to me and said, "Good tea fixes everything." And he was right. And as I sit here, watching the smoke from the grill fade into the air, I think maybe that's what cooking really is. A way to create small moments of peace, one cup, one bite at a time. Let's chop some greens and vegetables for the doner. I always start with parsley. It's simple, but it wakes up every flavor. Fresh, slightly bitter, cleansing. It's like pressing the reset button after every bite. Tomatoes are next, of course. Ripe, juicy, full of contrast. They add sweetness and a bit of acidity. Nature's way of saying, don't let the meat win all the attention. Then comes onion, not just raw, but tossed with a pinch of sumac and salt. And don't forget cucumbers, crisp, cooling, the peacekeepers of the dish. They remind your palate to breathe between the spice and the heat. Time to take the fish off, and for that, I'm using this massive doner knife. It looks dramatic, but it's not just for show. This blade has a story as sharp as its edge. The doner knife was invented in the 19th century in the Ottoman Empire, when vertical rotisseries first appeared. Cooks needed a long, slightly curved blade to shave thin slices of meat without tearing them. That's how the famous doner bucha was born. Originally, these knives were handmade by blacksmiths who also forged swords. That's why they have the same balance and grace. Each one was unique, crafted to match the chef's hand, like a samurai's katana. Now it's time to assemble the doner. I start with the lavash, laying it flat like a blank canvas, ready to hold everything together. Next comes the fish. I layer it carefully, letting the smoky, juicy fillets rest gently on the bread. Finally, the vegetables go on top. The crisp parsley, onions, tomatoes, cabbage, and cucumber. Once everything is in place, I roll it tightly, creating that iconic doner shape. It's satisfying, almost meditative to see it all come together. Now it's time to taste this beauty. Just lifting it up, I can smell the smoky fish mingling with the fresh herbs. It's irresistible.
Gelin. Balık döneri bir şey size. Posta.
Even the kids got their portion. Seeing them enjoy it just makes everything worth it. Nothing beats sharing food and stories with family. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next delicious adventure.